All right, so let's start with the big story that we're tracking on WION at this hour, where a top US general has now finally admitted that the Americans had made a huge mistake when they'd launched a drone strike against what they believed was an ISIS Khorasan terrorist in Kabul. Remember, this drone strike by the Americans resulted in the death of at least about 10 civilians, at least of 8 children, all belonging to the same family. Now, this drone strike by the Americans was carried out during the final days of the US troop withdrawal from Afghanistan last month. The US Central Command Commander General Kenneth McKenzie has now said that the strike was meant to hit what they believed was a suspected ISIS Khorasan target who was set on attacking the Kabul airport. Now, the US intelligence had, quote unquote, this is what they were claiming, the Americans were claiming, that they had reasonable, credible evidence that it was an ISIS Khorasan terrorist that they were taking out. However, the strike turned out to what the Americans are now calling as a tragic mistake in which 10 members of one family were killed.
I am now convinced that as many as 10 civilians, including up to 7 children, were tragically killed in that strike. Moreover, we now assess that it is unlikely that the vehicle and those who died were associated with ISIS-K or were a direct threat to U.S. forces. I offer my profound condolences to the family and friends of those who were killed. This strike was taken in the earnest belief that it would prevent an imminent threat to our forces and the evacuees at the airport. But it was a mistake, and I offer my sincere apology. As the combatant commander, I am fully responsible for this strike and this tragic outcome.
All right, so this is what the Americans are admitting now after there was a lot of questions that were raised by the media about the credibility of this claim that was being made by the Americans. Now, according to General McKenzie, the U.S. forces had tracked a white car for about 8 hours. It was seen near a suspected ISIS hideout in Kabul. The U.S. forces claimed that they had received intelligence that the site in question was being used to prepare for attacks on Kabul airport. It was further believed that the car had been loaded with explosives and the people who died in the U.S. strike included at least 8 children. None of the victims were in any way linked to any terror organization, leave alone the Islamic State. In fact, one of those who was killed in the strike was an Afghan man who had worked for an American aid group. Now, McKenzie, however, went on to defend the American operation as a self-defense strike. He claimed that there were concerns about an attack on the airport in the last days of the chaotic evacuation. The Pentagon and the U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin have also apologized to the relatives of those who were killed in this American strike.
As the Secretary says in this statement, we apologize and we will endeavor to learn from this horrible mistake. And to that end, he has directed a thorough review of the investigation just completed by U.S. Central Command.
Now remember, on the 26th of August, an ISIS Khorasan suicide bomber had killed at least about 200 Afghans, besides 13 American service personnel at the Kabul International Airport. The attack had come at a time when many Afghans and foreign nationals were trying to make a desperate bid to flee from Afghanistan as they feared the Taliban rule. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.